Hi guys, please subscribe to this channel and like the video to support my project, and we are starting a new adventure. We are in Kyiv and now we will walk along one of the most beautiful streets of my city, along Andriivskyi, Andriiv's descent, and I will tell you a little about its history. Andrew's descent received its name in honor of St. Andrew the First called. The legend says that there used to be a sea on the side of the Dnieper River. St. Andrew climbed to the mountain and predicted that here on the mountains the grace of God would be, a great city would grow, and many churches would be erected. And he placed on the mountain in commemoration of his words a cross. And then a miracle happened. The sea receded, but part of the sea remained and hid under the mountain. As the legend says, the sea fell asleep. In front of us is St. Andrew Church, and this is the only church in Kyiv that does not have bells, so the legend has a continuation. Many centuries after the story told in the legend, on the mountain the construction of St. Andrew Church began. When a well with underground waters opened under the throne, people remembered the old legend. The church does not have bells because it is believed that at the first stroke of the bell, the sea will wake up and come out of the mountain, and then the water will flood all of Kyiv and all of its left bank. It is difficult to say what actually influenced that fact that St. Andrew Church does not have bells. Possibly a superstition, or perhaps the architect Bartolomeo Rastrelli, who designed St. Andrew Church, simply did not take this detail into account in the project. But one way or another, walking along Andriivskyi descent, you will not hear the bell ringing. I will tell you about St. Andrew Church in more detail later in one of the following videos. And now we will continue our way down the street. During the time of Kyiv Rus, the descent was the shortest way to get from the upper city to the lower. The upper was famous for St. Sophia of Kyiv, while the lower was the location of the city's port and handicraft quarters. In 1711, the Kyiv governor issued an order according to which the street was expanded. Thanks to this manipulation, the descent became suitable not only for riders and pedestrians, but even for carts driven by horses and oxen. At the turn of the 19th-20th centuries, the most significant buildings of descent was carried out. Many famous personalities began to settle on the street: scientists, artists, writers, sculptors, composers. There was also a period when brothels were located here, but this did not last a long time, and that will be the topic for another video. The most mysterious attraction of the descent is the castle of Richard the Lionhead. It was built in 1902-1904 in the English neo-Gothic style by order of the Kyiv nobleman Dmitry Orlov. He planned to build a hotel, but in 1911 he died tragically and his widow put a house up for auction. The new owner rented the rooms to the guests, but they left their homes in horror as they were frightened by the constant howls and groans in all rooms of the castle. The news spread very quickly throughout the city, and the castle in everyday life began to be called the House of Ghosts. The reason for the appearance of ghosts turned out to be quite banal. The owner who built the house did not pay off the builders, and they took revenge on him by placing clay pots, broken glass, and pipe cuts in the ventilation and stove heating system. As soon as the direction of the wind changed, the early howl, rattle, and groan was heard in the walls. Castle of Richard the Lionheart, names of Kyiv citizens in honor of the English King Richard the First Lionheart, the hero of Walter Scott novel Ivanhoe. Under descent passes between two hills, Zamkovo and Uzdehalnitsa. Richard Lionheart Castle is located on the hill Uzdehalnitsa. Uzdehalnitsa is from the old slave word Sai. The legend says that the mountain received this name because young girls climbed it, yearning for their beloved, the soldiers of the garrison of the fortress that was located in the nearby hill. On the castle hill, in the 14th century, was built a wooden Lithuanian castle, which became one of the most modern fortifications of the city. In honor of this building, the mountain is still called Zamkovo or Castle Hill. According to another legend, before the foundation of Kyiv, the residence of Prince Kyiv was located on Castle Hill. And after that, on the hill stood the castle of the Lithuanian prince. At the beginning of the 19th century, the hill was given to the Frollo monastery. It had a cemetery for the inhabitants of Podil. And even now you can find ancient graves dated to the 19th century on a hill. There is also a legend that witches were buried in that cemetery. In new videos, I will try to tell more about these two hills and climb them. We are approaching a modern building. This is a theater that was opened in 2016. This theater is considered scandalous and still causes a lot of controversy. Many believe that the theater spoils the ancient architecture of the street and does not fit into it. House number 13 on Andriivskyi descent. We will take a look at its patio for a second. There is a veranda where you can drink tea and relax after a long walk. The writer Mikhail Bulgakov lived in this house from 1906 to 1913. In this house he settled the heroes of his novel The White Guard. Now in this house there is a museum of the writer and of the building itself. The interior of the early 20th century has been preserved in the house, furniture, books, and a doctor's office. Before becoming a writer, Bulgakov worked as a doctor, and in this house he spent his student years. In 1905, in this house lived Alexander Koshets. He was an Ukrainian choral conductor, arranger, composer. Andriivskyi descent is also called the Kyiv Montmartre. Here you can see artists, photographers, artisans and souvenir styles. Now the country is at the war and there are not as many works of art as it was in peacetime. For example, here you can buy Ukrainian embroidered shirts and things decorated with national Ukrainian embroidery. This mural depicts a girl in a Ukrainian dress and quilted jacket, dressed over an embroidered shirt. This mural appeared in the spring of 2014 after the revolution on Independence Square in Kyiv. The mural was created by the Sevastopol artist Alexei Svetov together with the French artist Julian Mellon as part of the French Spring Festival in Ukraine. The mural symbolizes the revival of Ukraine. In the future, in this place will be found a square named after Vasyl Slepak. Vasyl Slepak was a Ukrainian opera singer. He lived and worked in France for a long time. In 2016, a volunteer in the Ukrainian army, Slepak was killed during the war in Donbass. Monument to Alexander Vertinsky, a famous singer of the 20th century. This monument was opened in Kyiv on March 2019. The event was timed to coincide with the 130th anniversary of the birth of the famous artist. To our left is the so-called Museum of One Street. This museum is dedicated to the history of Andriivskyi descent. I will try to make a separate video on this museum. So we have reached the end of Andrei's descent. That's all for today. I thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to my channel and like the video. And see you in the new interesting places.